Hello, I'm Carol Ramoran. We're here today with the winner of the Apprentice Asia, Jonathan Yabut. Yabut is a former senior product manager at GlaxoSmithKline Philippines. He defeated 11 contenders from 7 countries to become a top salaried apprentice for the show's host, Malaysian business mogul and AirAsia Group Chief Executive Officer Tony Fernandez. Thank you for joining us, Jonathan.
Thank you, Carol, and thank you, Rappler, for having me here today.
All right. So out of the 30,000 that applied for the show, there were 12 of you, and now you're the winner. So for my first question, which I think you expect, how does it feel?
I said it when I took that car, getting out of the boardroom, I said I was exploding, and even until now, I feel like I'm still exploding. It's so surreal that when I was way back in college, I was just watching the show, pretending I was one of the contestants, pretending, what would Donald Trump tell me if I get fired or hired, and now, voila, I'm here, and I'm living the dream of what I had 10 years ago.
I was watching the final episode, and when Tony said, "You're hired," your face, it was like priceless.
Yeah.
You did it. It was like a cross between a smile and shock.
Yeah. Actually, more than anything else, I think I was more shocked. And the clincher there was that Tony said, "I am changing my mind as I speak."
Yeah.
And I really thought entering the boardroom that I had some slight edge over Andrea, knowing that he would pick me. And so when he said that I'm changing my mind as I speak, I said, wait a minute. Does this mean he's choosing now Andrea over me? Because there was something about the speech of Andrea that struck a chord in him, and he finally chooses the girl. And when he finally says, "Jonathan, you're hired," in fact, you guys don't get to see it on TV, but the way it was filmed was that he was supposed to do this to me, and I thought, he's really going to chop my head. And he was like, "Jonathan, you're," and then he suddenly shifts his hand and he says, "You're hired."
Oh my God.
So when he did that, I was so shocked, and I was like, wow. I was like, words couldn't explain how it was.
Walking out of the boardroom, it's still there, the shock.
I'm speechless.
Yeah.
I can't imagine, the idea of winning something that you've always dreamt of.
All right. So with that said, and I was also watching your speech, you were saying that your suits were bought from Divisoria and SM. Yeah. So who were you before Apprentice Asia?
I don't like the fact that, the Apprentice Asia gives me a facade.
Yeah.
That, I'm a guy who speaks in English too much, because obviously that's what the show is requiring you to do.
Yeah.
But Jonathan is a very Jologs guy at heart, In my office in GSK, we would, go out of the office, go to the fishbowl stand. I would go to local fast food, eat whatever I want.
Yeah.
I love hanging out with friends. I love shopping in the dirtiest places around. And the reason why I think that facade gets through the people easily is because they want to see the other side of Jonathan. The other side of Jonathan being in the competition is that he's very strict, he's straight to the point, he's straightforward, but in real life, I'm really very kalog. I'm the guy who first cracks the joke in a party, and I'm the clown of a party. You may still not see it right now, but if you get to see me personally in a party or in a friend's house, hanging out, you'd see the real Jonathan clowning around.
Yeah, and do you think you were able to show that enough in the show, or were there so many things that we didn't see on camera?
A lot of things don't get to be seen. You're only seeing like 1% of the iceberg. Ika nga. And every time that the camera is off, I'd always be the one to crack the jokes with all the contestants and tell them, "Guys, come on, this is my victory already. You can't go home now." And I would crack those kinds of jokes, or if the joke can be a sexual joke, if the joke can be a racist joke, for example, I'd be the one to crack it with everyone. And everyone was nice enough to be mature to handle those jokes. And I wish those things would have been shown in the competition, just so all contestants' other sides would get to be seen by the audience.
Yeah. Off air, you were mentioning that you had a secret, and it wasn't shown on camera, of course. So can you tell us more about it? How were you able to sustain your energy? How were you like the Energizer bunny of the show until the very end?
People would think that the Apprentice Asia is a mental race. It's all about who's the smartest. It's all about who delivers the best words. But if you're there for 2 months and you're filming something that entails you to wake up at 5 a.m., sleep at 11 p.m., physical endurance is very important. You need to make sure that you sleep well. You need to make sure that you get fed well. You need to make sure that you get the right energy at the right time. So, because you don't know when the task is going to be delivered to you by Mr. Tony. And my secret was I would always bring with me a packet of granola bars or energy drinks that I brought from the Philippines to KL, because apparently they don't have energy drinks in sachets.
I see.
So I would go to the washroom secretly, bring a bottle of water with me, pour in that energy drink, and drink it 2 hours before the task is delivered or executed. And believe me, it's my secret, because at those times, you'd always see Jonathan at his most passionate and most energetic moments. Because I made sure that the energy did not die down.
Yeah.
If the competition drags you by the 8th or 9th week, you will not be able to prepare and execute the task properly. And I think that was a great advantage. And the contestants didn't know anything about that, because I had to hide drinking those energy drinks in the washroom.
I see. But despite all of that, like the energy that you kept all throughout the show, you admitted at an interview with Rappler that at one point you wanted to quit.
Yeah.
And this was your dream.
Yeah.
And you were admitting on air that you were such a geek for Apprentice in UK, US. So what caused you to actually think for even just a minute that you wanted to leave the show?
I think for someone who's a virgin about entering reality TV shows, you're mesmerized by what you see on camera. That you think, that the camera will just be rolling day in, day out.
Yeah.
But when you enter the competition, you realize there's so many rules and regulations that limits you to do these things. And the idea of the stress in my part was underestimated. I thought we were gonna be given proper sleep. I thought we were gonna be given catered, really nice posh food.
Yeah.
But it's a job, and every part of the crew make some sacrifices. And when 3 people have already quit in the show, I told myself, this is too much for me. The stress is too cancerous. And I said, I don't need to prove myself to the rest of the world just to, make myself be judged in front of the camera, in front of TV. I think I'm already good enough myself. And I don't need an Apprentice Asia to prove who I am.
That's true.
So those were times that I felt, should I quit?
Yeah.
But the inspiration was that, all right, Jonathan, if you want to quit, think again, because this is not just about yourself. This is about how you're representing the Filipinos in an international arena. And for me, having that Filipino flag pin with me and my Barong Tagalog in the finale reminded me every time I open my closet, this is for the Philippines. This is for the victory. And if you do something wrong that will embarrass the Filipinos, it's not going to be a shame just for yourself, but for the rest of the nation.
Yeah.
So that got me through and through the episodes.
Yeah, and look how it turned out. You said that you were getting so much reaction from OFWs everywhere.
Yeah.
Okay, can you share some? You were mentioning a few earlier.
It's cheesy to say that sometimes it makes me teary-eyed, but I get a lot of emails, tweets, and Facebook messages from a lot of OFWs telling me, Jonathan, you have raised the flag for the Philippines. I'm an engineer in Dubai, I'm an accountant in Singapore, and I've always wanted a day wherein, people would look up to us, that we are professionals, that we're not just a country who exports blue-collar jobs, that we can do both. We can do both blue and white at the same time. And for me, this is, the show that stamps how the Filipino talent is truly world-class. And I'm only teary-eyed that that inspiration is sparking that flame through every Filipino, not just here in the Philippines, but also abroad.
Yeah, it's like breaking the stereotype.
Breaking the stereotype, definitely, that, I always told the other contestants, if you bark at a Pinoy, he won't bark at you back. He's gonna eat you up alive. So,
yeah, given the right environment.
given the right environment. Yeah.
So it's like breaking the stereotype, which is what #Balikbayan is all about in Rappler. All right, so you'll start working for AirAsia on August 15.
Yep.
So what did your bosses in GlaxoSmithKline tell you? Were they like sad to see you go?
They were both sad and happy. I'm sure they didn't even, think about doing a counter offer. And I told my boss, my boss told me, even before I joined the competition, when she already knew that I was part of Apprentice Asia, she told me, all right, win or lose, I'm sure that other companies will be pursuing you, and you might want to pursue other things outside GlaxoSmithKline. And she told me, and it's fine. It's fine with us as long as you're happy for it, because we are for your development and growth. And in the end, I think that's what a true boss is really all about. It's all about finding out what's best for his people. And they're very sad and very disappointed. But at the same time, they're very proud because one of their employees made it big in Asia. And I think it's very truly GSK, all about mentoring, all about inspiring and leadership.
I see. Okay, I'm gonna take a break from my questions and ask you some of the questions that we got from Twitter.
Okay.
All right, so this is from Phil Peñaflor, who asks, what job would you never do, no matter how much it paid?
Okay, I think it's gonna be a doctor. I have so much high regard for doctors, and having worked in the pharma industry, I know how doctors work.
Yeah.
But I think it's not for me. When I was in first year college, and I've told this to a lot of people, I had a cyst taken out from my right breast. And that's only taken by 1% of men in the world. And I told my mom, of all people, why me? I thought it was going to be malignant, but 3 weeks later they found out it was benign. And that changed me for the world. It made me live a c'est la vie, carpe diem kind of life. And in that operation, I realized blood is not for me. I'm not up for tinkering with people's bodies. And I told my mother, I will not be happy if you push me to become a doctor. Because she's a nurse, and all her 2 sisters were also nurses. And because they couldn't afford, to send one of them to a med school, they wanted me to be the doctor of the Yabut family. And I told my mom, this isn't for me, ma. I will not be happy if I become a doctor. And I think even if you pay me 3 times the salary of what I'm going to be getting from Mr. Tony Fernandez, I won't be happy with the job. It's for some people, but I know at this time of my life that it's not for me.
It seems like your parents, your family already knew that you were destined for greatness at a young age.
Hopefully. I told my mom, when I was in grade 1, I told my mom, I want to become the president of the Philippines.
Wow.
And my mom told me, we're not from a rich family. We don't have any family members from politics. The Yabuts of Makati are not related to of Yabuts of Aklan. And she told me, for you to become a president of the Philippines or a mayor of Manila, you have to become a newscaster.
Oh.
Because that's the only way to become a popular guy in the Philippines by that time. And I told, when I won Apprentice Asia in the finale party, I told my mom, maybe this is my opportunity to be one. Yeah, but in the meantime, I still have to make it. I still have to make money for Mr. Tony Fernandez.
One thing at a time.
One thing at a time.
All right, and here is from Kix. He or she is asking you to complete the sentence, I am Filipino because...
I am Filipino because I never give up. I'm palaban. I am the only race in the world that has the concept of madiskarte. And the Filipino will always be proud of who they are, no matter how many times they've fallen.
You mentioned fallen. It was also, I also read it on interviews that prior to joining Apprentice Asia, you were nursing a breakup. A broken heart. So did you feel like it helped you?
Definitely.
At some point?
And whoever is that person right now, I hope that person watches me in one of the episodes of Apprentice Asia. And I want to tell that person, this is what you lost. All right? I entered Apprentice Asia not just because, it was a motivation for me to be at my best, to improve my career and to represent the Philippines. It was because I knew I need to escape in a bubble. And I realized, by the time that we finished all the episodes, by episode 11, on week 11, all the contestants finally had their phones back to them because all the phones were confiscated. And they're all each sharing, oh, this is my boyfriend, this is my girlfriend, this is my husband, this is my wife. And they asked me, so Jonathan, how about yours? And that was the time, wow, I forgot the entire thing. And I moved on, and I'm ready to move on and live a new life and start from scratch. And I was so happy because that was the intention of joining the Apprentice Asia. And I'm glad, the experience made me forget every dark side of what happened in me in 2012.
I see. So when one door closes, a window opens.
A window opens. But for me, this is a bigger door this time. It's not just a window. It's a bigger door.
I know. It's like the main door of the house. All right. So what's your biggest achievement as a marketing and sales professional? That's from Marty Allen Delanto.
I think winning the Apprentice Asia is, already so far the biggest achievement. But I think the bigger achievement is that there is no direct link between a marketer and being able to inspire people's lives. But the value of Apprentice Asia is that it wasn't just an entertainment show. For me, it has transcended to something that has become inspirational to the youth and to the rest of the Filipinos. And it's so rare and so hard to do something like that. Having won and made that kind of victory for Filipinos meant much more for them. It was a concept of identity. It was an issue of raising the Philippine flag and elevating what the Filipino identity is all about worldwide. So for me, that is so far my biggest achievement, winning this.
I see. And you mentioned inspire. All right, so we have a question here this is from Alan Ross Pampo Banyaga. He's from Facebook, and he's asking, how will you inspire the youth, or if not the youth, everyone struggling in life, to do what you did, to take charge and win their life's battles?
Yeah. This is so gas already for me to say.
Yeah.
But I've always kept on saying in my interviews, you can never be too small to dream big.
Yeah.
I came from humble beginnings. My family was like from low middle class to middle class, and I'd always remember when I was in high school, my allowance was on a daily basis. Sakto lang yan, riding the jeepney from home to Letran to home. I would scrimp on money for me to watch a movie in SM Manila. And looking back now, it was really passion and grit that made me through. That I thought to myself that I was so insecure that why is it that in Metro Manila, you have to be rich and you have to come from a well-made family just to make it big and just for you to be sent to the good universities. And that insecurity on my part fueled me to say that I'm going to be the first guy who's going to be proving to the rest of the world that you don't need to have, come from a rich family background. You don't need to be, have the smartest IQ, for example. It's grit and passion in the end. That overwhelming belief that no matter what the obstacle is, you're gonna get through. And that's empirically proven. They found out it's not the guys who had the smartest IQs, it's not the people who are the most good looking, neither are the people who came from the rich family backgrounds. They've empirically proven it's the people who have the best grit in their lives. And I think that's what I've shown to Mr. Tony Fernandez.
Yeah. Discarte.
Yeah.
I see. So, going back to the show, there were two Filipinos, you and Selena. So, do you feel like it was better that one of you was eliminated earlier in the show rather than having the two of you in the final episode?
By the third episode, when I started hanging out with Selena in our airplane rides, because we weren't not in the same team, so we couldn't mingle with each other. Selena and I told each other we need to make this a final two for the Philippines. And how brilliant is it gonna be if it's a final two? But when she got fired, I knew she was gonna get fired in episode 7 because Alex and Sam whispered to me that they were gunning for Selena, and I couldn't tell that to Selena for the most obvious reasons. It didn't get shown on TV, but when we were declared as the winner of that episode, we went out of the boardroom and I whispered something to Selena. And I told her, you need to watch out in this boardroom because these two guys are gunning for you. And yes, it may be a blessing in disguise because I don't know how to argue it out with Selena. It's easy for me to shatter the hearts of the other contestants, but it will be hard probably for Selena. And it's blessing in disguise because if she didn't get eliminated, she wouldn't have been the one I picked in the final two, because she was my food and beverage queen, and she was the one responsible for making me win in the banquet when the charity ball for AirAsia Foundation was done. So yes, I would have to agree with you. For me, it was destiny that she had to be fired. Sorry for saying that, Selena. She had to be fired for me to win the Apprentice Asia, but she knows I owe a lot to her for this win.
I see. Yeah, and it would have been hard, no, with the support of the Filipinos. Mahahati.
Yeah, and I know that because she's a very beautiful girl, more people are gonna be rooting for her.
Okay, but so from Paul Vincent Kimpo, how did you maintain your work-life balance?
Even at 11 p.m. when I go home from work, I'd still cook. That's one thing that I do. I cook adobo.
It's therapeutic, no?
Very therapeutic. Or because I live in an area wherein the groceries are open till 11 p.m., I would just go to the groceries, and even if I just need to buy a roll of tissue paper, I'll just go around and look at the cans, look at sardines, corned beef, just look at the ingredients. The idea of wanting to look at things and get inspired of how brilliant marketers of Philippines are, trying to market every product in every gondola in a supermarket. That for me distresses me. Sports also for me is very important. I do run a lot. I play badminton, and I make sure. I'm lucky that in JSK we have our own gym. So it's just apat na tumbling lang nasa gym ka na. So the idea of distressing is very important for me. Work-life balance is very important. There are many ways to live a life, and you don't want to realize looking back that 1/4 or 1/3 of your life are spent in front of the laptop. For me, that's a shame. And I'm just so happy that I realized that earlier on.
You said that you wanted to be the next Tony Fernandez. Well, reading his life, it's like so inspiring. He came from humble beginnings as well, and he risked a lot in buying
airplanes.
At that time. So I wanted to ask if you share the same vision, and at this point, what are your ideas for AirAsia? Do you have any bright ideas in store for the company?
I think Tony was a brilliant man because he started also with none of the things he has right now. And for me, that's also born out of insecurity. Insecurity that he wanted the Malaysian pride to get out of himself. He wanted an Asian brand that even the Westerners will find out about. And that for me is something that's in common between me and Tony.
Yeah.
One thing that I also want to include is passion. If you look at Tony, and he told this to us in one of our dinners, someone offered to him to do business with cement that would totally wipe out all of his businesses in just one click because it's so lucrative. But he told us, who cares about cement? It's not something that I would love to do. And that's why he's into the businesses that he loves. He has an F1 racing team. He has a football team. He's into hotels. He's into airplanes because these are the things that he loves.
Yeah.
And since he was a kid, he always dreamt of being into these kinds of businesses. And for me, that's the same kind of passion that I have with him. I love traveling. I love cooking. I love the hospitality industry. And I told him in the finale boardroom that you cannot force these things into yourself. That these things, even if everything, gets shut down, it was something that will always inspire you, and you need an apprentice like that. And so for me, if you love your job, if I want to do a restaurant business someday, it will never feel like it's a job. It will always feel like you're just having fun. It will always feel like you're just playing around and fooling around with people. At the same time, you're making money out of it and you're inspiring people to do well.
I see. You mentioned the things that Tony has. In another interview, Tony also mentioned that when he was around 12 years old, he had this box wherein he had 3 stickers of all the things he wanted to have in his life. An F1 racing team, a football.
He had a small airplane in a shoebox.
Yeah, and a small airplane. So if I'm going to ask you, what's in your shoebox? 3 things.
Well, to begin with, I have 5 shoe boxes.
Oh, that's a lot.
That's a lot. Since I was in high school, for example, I've always kept in my shoebox all the airplane tags of the countries I've been to. I've also had that small painting that I did in my first year in Letran, wherein I wanted to become an astronaut. And I had that painting of an astronaut in Mars. Because I wanted to become the first person to land on Mars.
There's a reality show for that.
Yeah. And I also have in my shoebox a menu that I stole from a restaurant when I was in grade 6. Because I really love the menu, and I told that when I grow older, I want to have a menu like this in my restaurant. So those are things that I had. And it's nice to look back. It's been a while since I opened that shoebox, but it's still with me. And looking back, it's so nice to realize that these are the same things that I still have right now. It's still the same passion. And building a kitchen empire is something that I want to do after my stint with Mr. Tony Fernandez. And I told Tony, you've had so many glamorous businesses right now, but there's one thing that you don't have yet. You don't have your kitchen empire. And I told him, it's one thing I'm going to do for you or for myself, or we can partner up.
I see. So, a kitchen empire and something that you love, cooking. I see. It's actually, you won't have to work a day in your life.
Definitely. And in the competition, this wasn't shown on TV, but I was the one who cooks for the food of the guys. None of the guys knew how to cook. And Selena was the one cooking for the girls. So it was very Filipino for all the contestants to say, all right, it's the Filipino guys cooking for everyone and serving everyone. And I'd always cook adobo because they would love that kind. They would love my version that has potatoes and tomatoes, cherry tomatoes on it. I'd also cook ketchup for the contestants. It's spaghetti with banana ketchup. And all the contestants told me, you should really build your own restaurant. And I told them, Filipino cuisine is something that has to stand out in the future. And it's something that's underrated, and I think a lot of the audiences out there would love how Filipino cuisine would work out. So if I build my kitchen empire, I'd make my own Filipino restaurant.
Yeah, and it's actually very easy to market Filipino food because it caters to all the tastes
exactly,
of the Asians.
Exactly.
And even Westerners.
Exactly. I think we're at this time where in Filipino cuisine is the emerging cuisine that no one has exploited yet.
Yes. Okay. So this is from Nino Quintos. Again, congrats, and so proud of him.
Thank you.
My question is, will he still want to serve and share his talents to the Philippines?
Definitely. Right now, we're very active with our series of talks. It's called Journeys of Inspiration. I'm doing it with Selena. We're going around universities and organizations, sharing our experiences about Apprentice Asia and how can it fuel your passion, your career, and how you can improve your leadership. And I told Selena, even if I'm going to be in Kuala Lumpur, I'm willing, to fly almost every 2 weeks or every week on a weekend just to share the experiences, because this is something that you need to grab and go. After months or after years, it's gonna die down.
Yeah.
And while the iron is still very hot, you have to strike it.
That's true. All right, and this is from Ryan Christopher Sorote. He says that focus on work is sometimes very hard while competing, which I would agree to. Was it also hard for you to focus, considering that you have personal doubts, you have very tight competition with the others, and there's so much pressure during your time with Apprentice Asia? So how did you cope, and how did you focus?
For me, it was about, again, insecurity. The insecurity that all these other guys came from countries that were already able to establish themselves. Malaysia, Singapore, Thailand, for example, are right now well ahead of the Philippines as far as economics and politics are concerned. And I told myself that this is the best platform to show and stamp that the Filipino may not be ahead of them, but we are out there. And one of our feet is already out into the door. And I told myself, if I win this, it's gonna spark and inspire a lot of Filipinos to be the next, tiger in the Asian economy. And I think we're getting there. We have one of the best economies right now in Asia. We've got a good stock market, a good peso. It may be retreating these days, but the fact of the matter is it's been compared well than the other Asian markets. And it's so timely that at the same time that the Philippines is doing well with its economy, it's the Apprentice Asia that has shown that the Filipino talent is the one driving that economy in the region.
Yeah, more foreign investments coming in as well. Yeah. So, for my last question, what's the next thing for you? Well, we know you're going there. Your first day at work is going to be August 15th, and what you always say, think big picture. So, what's the big picture for you, Jonathan?
My Excel sheet right now is very, very messed up in a sense that since I was in college, I always have these Excel sheets, color-coded, categorized per life, romance, business, and all these things. I put it in an Excel sheet and I tell myself, this is what I'm gonna do in the first year, in the next 3 years, in the next 5 years. And right now, my plate is so full.
Yeah.
I wanna make it big for Mr. Tony Fernandez. I wanna have my own kitchen empire 10 years, 20 years down the line. People have been telling me, you should run for politics, you should run for public office, and why not? I've always told my mom I want to become the next president of the Philippines, maybe when I turn 40 or 50. And I think it's a matter of prioritizing them and putting them into a ladder, step by step, trying to reach every goal. And that's what Tony did. Tony, had a big dream 30 years down the line, but he knew what he had to do on its first year, second year, third year. So I'm going to take it one step at a time. I don't want to, overwhelm myself with all these things. But I'm also going to make sure that my feet is on the ground. I'm going to make sure that the same people who helped me get through this are the same people who will be there to support me because I owe a lot of my success to them. And in the end, you go back to your roots. You go back why you are here in the first place. And for me, it's always because, not just for myself, but it's because it's for the Philippines. It's all about raising the profile that the Filipino can really do it and that the Filipino is truly, truly world-class.
Exactly. Filipinos dream big. I'm pretty
And if
sure.
you dream big, you will make it. Right now, the only enemy of the ambitious is time.
Exactly.
You tweet or you post something on Facebook, it can change and transform your life.
I see. All right. So we've been speaking with the Apprentice Asia winner, Jonathan Yabut. Join us again next time. I'm Carol Ramoran, Rappler.